Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host, joined this week by my blue collar badass, Matt. How's it going, man?
Going great, man. It is warming up here. The sun's shining. Somehow I came down with like a cold or some allergies or some shit, so my voice is a little gravelly. But I've been told it makes me sound better on the mic, so I'm gonna let it roll.
I know, man. I went for a walk just before this, and it's like 90 degrees here, so I was sweating my ass off, and all the trees are shedding all their I don't know, whatever white flower. It's not like that thistle thing or the dandelion tufts, but all the other petals and everything. I mean, I don't have any bad allergies, but you just see like all these white tufts, strewn across, and shoes are caked in them and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, man, we've got pollen like crazy. Our pond in the backyard is like yellow. It looks like there's a yellow blanket on it, and it's just solid pollen. And we also then decided it was a good weekend to open our pool. So who knows?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Hey man, it better be clean when I show up in a month,
That's why I did it early.
and warmed up enough.
That's right.
Guys, without further ado, we've got two awesome guests for you here today. And I'll just run through their bios real quick. Bob and Pat MacDonald. So Bob was 24 years as a general contractor in Florida, 10 years in the restoration business, and is a licensed mold remediation and mold assessments in Florida, and started his career in the residential space doing additions and remodels, as well as total home rehabs. So obviously well versed in gutting and remodeling single family homes. And along with many others, the recession in '08 took a toll on the residential business. So Bob took a job working for a restoration company, and eventually started getting into his own commercial restoration business, which we're going to hear all about. And then Pat was in the Coast Guard for 4 years. Thank you for your service, Pat. After the Coast Guard, he started his own boat sales and repair business, which, love to talk about yachts, different kind of boat, but you're probably in. But 2008 took its toll in the marine industry. Unlike COVID in 2021, where I think boat sales were at an all-time high in Florida and you couldn't get them fast enough. But Pat went back to school and got his AP license to work on airplanes, but never ended up doing that, and instead traveled the world with GE Power, fixing gas turbines and power plants, and all around the world doing that. And then in 2020, they decided to join forces and build what is now Avid Restoration. So with that, Pat and Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you guys on. And I'm going to start off with Dylan. Before you got on the mic, turns out these guys are from my neck of the woods. So they're smarter than me. They got the hell out of Michigan and moved down south. But they are originally from up in this area. So it's kind of small world shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we went back about 2 weeks ago and we're thinking, thankfully we did get out. Because it was cold and rainy.
Yeah. Yeah. We tend to have that this time of year, especially.
Yeah.
So when did you guys actually get out? When did you move down to where you're at now, to Florida or Tampa area?
So I was 21, he was 18. My dad ended up moving down, and I followed him a couple of years after. And Pat, he finished the senior year in high school.
High school was here. So yeah, our dad was he ran heavy equipment and did civil work, that kind of stuff, and he just got tired of Michigan winters and said, "We're going south." All right, let's go. Yeah, so that was about 30 years ago.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Time flies. I'm so used to saying that was 20 years ago.
Well, let's talk construction, guys. That's why we're here.
Yes.
Bob, you were a residential general contractor?
Yeah, I actually, when I was 24, I started to work for a franchise. I just went to work as basically like a general manager, and honestly not knowing a lot. And, you know, all growing up, of course, growing up in Michigan, all of our fathers were in the trade. So I did a lot of concrete work. I don't know, from the time I was probably 16 years old, and just it seemed like everybody was always working on everyone else's houses and helping out. So um, when I got into that, it was just kind of a seamless thing where, like, let's get my license, and I wanted to get serious about it and not just be just a normal operations manager. And yeah, we grew that. It was actually a handyman connection franchise. We grew that into, um, I believe we were the number one revenue producing, uh, business with handyman at the time. I think we had like 8 offices throughout the state. I learned a lot. It was a good experience. A little crazy doing that type of just a lot of people doing a lot of smaller jobs. It was a lot of organization, but it allowed me to learn a ton about the business side more so than the actual doing side, which I think is in our business. I think a lot of people need that a lot of guys know how to do the work, but they don't really know how to run the business. So I was fortunate enough to partner up with a guy that was a great businessman, and he taught me a lot. So
That's a great point, man. And we've talked about that a lot. We had our buddy Scott Pieper was on a few weeks ago now. He runs mobilization funding actually in your backyard. But we talked very heavily about that so many contractors, it's the E-myth, right? The technician versus the entrepreneur. And you may know how to pour concrete or stick walls together or run pipe or whatever it is, but doing that for profit is a whole another ball game. And then when you start bringing in employees and locations, it's that had to be a really really helpful experience for you to have that guy kind of to mentor.
Oh yeah, it was huge. Because honestly, being 24 and even I think I can't keep track of the years now, but I'm pretty sure I was there for 6-8 years. So yeah, just at the end, I was pretty much running the show, and yeah, it was invaluable. So I don't think any university would have helped me get that experience. So I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, man. School of hard knocks.
That's right. That's the best way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's, we see it all the time where, some of the stuff that we just think is so easy and second nature because we've been doing this so long. You've got younger guys in the industry who are good at the trade, but either don't know to seek mentorship or don't, just they think that struggle is just the way it should be. But seeking mentorship in that on the business side, and it doesn't have to be even in the construction trade, right? Just getting somebody that understands the fundamentals of running a business is key. I think if I could give anybody advice that's going to start, early in their construction career, they're good at what they do, but they want to venture off on their own. Man, that would be the first thing I would say is find somebody you can tag on to that understands the business.
Yeah, I mean, well, how lucky were you, Bob, and being able to just latch on to somebody? What was that luck? Was it, did you seek them out?
It's kind of, I think it was luck, but I do believe Andy Frisella says that a lot. He says it's not luck, motherfucker. He says it. I've been working hard at this shit, but I think it was a little bit of luck, just kind of being in the right place at the right time. And that guy, actually, we had mutual friends, and I actually was coming off of a job. I worked for a cat dealer, Caterpillar, and it just worked out. So there was a little bit of luck for sure. So it worked out for both of us. Actually, it was a great thing because he didn't know any of the construction side, and honestly, as we know in this business, you have to have a little bit of an edge to you, when you're dealing with all the guys, and you got to earn that respect. And we grew up in it, so it it just kind of was easy. I saw my dad doing it, running hundreds of people, and I would work with him, and it was just kind of, I don't know if it's in you, or you do learn that, you pick it up. So, but yeah, it was a great opportunity, and I really do appreciate it. I'm very grateful for him. So.
Yeah, and I mean, in that, so obviously the break in meeting him was lucky, right? You sticking it out, you working hard, that was not lucky by any means.
Yeah.
Right. But what might be, on this topic of mentorship, right? And searching people out, because I think, we all want to say like our businesses are unique and different, and to an extent, they're not. But there's some specific parts when it comes to especially like cash flow and construction that is very unique, right? Labor pool and leadership that are very unique from most other businesses, right? You're dealing with kind of rough around the edges type of guys, that work hard, they're gruff, and it's a different beast to manage. But from, I guess, that for the young folks out there that are looking to, whether it's to get into construction, whether it's to someday run their own business, whether it's just to move up in leadership, right? Or to just understand some more fundamentals that they might be lacking. What are the maybe few things that both of you guys would recommend for that young, whether they're 18 or 21, whatever they might be, person, what would you recommend them to look for in a mentor?
Well, I can tell you, I'll let Pat say because he knows a lot about this, but he turned me on to like with Arete. He turned me on to that, which helped me kind of open my mind a lot. And I think with younger people, and especially if you want to take that go to the next level, you really do have to open your mind. And I think when we're that young, especially men, and especially in these type of businesses, you're full of ego, and a lot of that is bad ego, though. So you have to open your mind. You have to let people help you, and you have to ask for help too, in the right way. Because it's crazy the successful people that I've met that are so willing to help, as long as they see that you are working hard at what you're trying to do and you really take it serious. They are very willing to help. And I will say, as a youngster, I didn't even know that. And I really thought that people wouldn't want anything to do with me. So I would probably say that's one of the biggest things, is just open your mind to it.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely put the ego aside. But like, if you think about the way society teaches those guys, right? Like, we go through school, and everything that you do, you're trained to do it on your own, right? You take tests in school, you have to do it on your own. I mean, there's example after example. Until you get into the real world, some never realize, right? But if you're lucky enough to realize that the more you collaborate with others, the more successful and the faster you reach success, right? So, I mean, if I could give anybody the advice of, seeking mentorship, would be, if you find somebody that's doing what you want to do and latch onto those people, right? And I know that seems like a little bit daunting, but like Bob said, if you work hard and you're not a dipshit, everybody wants to help you. Right.
So, yeah, man. I mean, once you show that you're willing to grind it out, and you're willing to, get your knuckles bloody and your boots dirty.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I was a young buck. I came up in the residential world, and I didn't know shit, and I was cocky, and I had no verifiable skills. But for whatever reason, my upbringing mainly, I would go out and I'd bust my ass, right? And I'd break my balls all day long doing whatever they told me to do. I used to move lumber for 8-10 hours straight, it seemed. But you quickly find those guys, those older dudes, me now, who are like, they'll see you doing that. And I love it. I love nothing more than grabbing onto the younger guys and saying, hey, come on in, let's talk about your future. Let's talk about the industry and where you might fit, and how you can move where you want to get to. But then on the flip side, we also, especially nowadays, right, we see these young kids come around, and they're these entitled little shits, and they don't want to do anything. They want to make six figures, and I don't want anything to do with them. I won't even talk to them. You know?
No, and that is the key, right? Do the work for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yeah.
If you go on a job site and you work your ass off, people notice that. But if you go out there, like I've been to a trade school, or, you know, I've been helping my dad for 15 years and I know it all, dude, you're going to get kicked out. Nobody wants that shit on their job site. But if you're the guy who listens, you know, there's 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Shut your mouth, listen, work hard, and great things will come to you. But you can't expect it, and you have to give more than you want to receive. Right? If just like you said, if you put the ego aside, you know, be confident, but put the ego aside, go on a job site or go to the, you know, wherever it is you're trying to get to, or, you know, whatever field you're in. If you work harder than the job you're currently doing, you will advance. I mean, 99.9% of the time you will advance.
Yeah.
Probably quicker than you thought, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we always say actions speak louder than words, and I can't say that enough, because there's a lot of this and not enough of this, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, on the other side of it, like I'm coming from the design side, right? I went to engineering school. You kind of have to get licensed. And like my credentials are pretty deep, but on that, like I never lead with them, right? It's only if it comes up or if it actually matters or is relevant to the conversation, okay, like, you know, then you start whipping out like all the things that I've done and all that. But more so what I point to more than anything else is like the bookshelf, right? Like to the willingness to learn and to read and to, you know, give people a book or something else to help them improve and bring them along the way. And I mean, like this bookshelf has done more for me than all my, you know, engineering and school credentials ever have. Granted, they got me the base to move forward, right? Because I got licensed and all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, more so in moving up in a career and forging my own path and everything else that's happened, you know, it's due to books. It's not due to, you know, the teachers or even the textbooks, right? It's the willingness to learn, and that goes deeper. You know, reading is one thing you kind of have to force yourself to do. Right? It's not like on the job training where someone's going to stand over your shoulder and do that. But I think that willingness to learn and willingness to really be teachable is a huge, huge thing that a lot of people are missing out on. And again, whether that's from a book, from a mentor, from whoever, right? Taking notes, making sure that you're really trying to learn and embody those skills is a skill in and of itself, and something that will serve you for a long time to come.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't start looking at that stuff until I was in my 40s. And, you know, man, if somebody would have told me that in my 20s, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, because I'd be retired, you know? And it really is like if you focus on the mental aspect of that has nothing to do with specific trade, just people in general, learning mental toughness, learning the secrets of, you know, being a mental giant. And it's just like you said, those books behind you, 75 Hard, Winning, you know, all those guys, Jocko, Tim Grover, you know, there's so many of them that can take you as a person and as a professional from, you know, 0 to 100 quite quickly, you know, just by learning those things. And as you guys have most likely seen, the more you start to listen to that stuff, the more you hear the same messages from different people. Right. And it kind of comes down to the basics of mental toughness and mental awareness that I think propels people in business.
Without a doubt, man. And you're spot on. I think we're in the generally same age bracket. The three of us, Dillon's a young buck in this room, but had I started my, you know, personal development journey, whatever you want to call it, way earlier than I did, I'd be on the yacht next to you right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's just mindset, right? And it's learning how to. I think construction guys have it a little bit easier almost, you know, if you come up in the trades or near the trades in some fashion, you kind of have a bit of that grit already, right? If you make it, if you've been in it for any period of time. So for me anyways, it was kind of like an obvious next step. And I kind of hit myself in the head like, damn, I could have ramped this up. I've been busting my ass for all these years. Like I was misguided in how I was doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but we didn't seek mentorship until, I mean, it was kind of the same deal until, you know, I was older. I learned a lot of that in the corporate space, but I mean, it's just, you know, you get into a small business and you think, I have to figure it out. And you do, but you can get help.
Yeah.
You know, and that help, man, there's years and years and years of experience with guys that are willing to give it. So.
Yeah. And one thing real quick before we, you know, I don't want this to become a fully just mental toughness call, but you know, which I could talk about for a long time. But I mean, one of the prime examples, and I mentioned it just before we went live here, but like, I mean, as you listeners know, like I've gotten into practical shooting, right? So pistols and all that kind of good stuff. And going and doing these matches and showing up time and time again. And guys are more than willing to like teach you or give you pointers, all this kind of stuff. And there was a guy that was out there and it was Mother's Day. So it was like half the amount of guys. And since my mom doesn't live around here, I could go and shoot instead of do that, you know, called mom after. But it's one of those things of guys being so willing to do it. And this one guy, I mean, he just kicked all of our asses in the competition this weekend. And coming to find out, you know, about halfway through the day, he's a retired ranger, you know, now working like private security. And at the end, you know, I got to spend, you know, another 20 minutes or whatever. And I was like, man, hey, what can I do to improve? Right. Just that willingness to learn, willingness to get better. Clearly he was a great shooter, and he was like, you know, I haven't done this in 6 months and I've been snowboarding and, you know, just knocking the rust off. And I'm like, well, heck, man, if that's your rust, you know, I got some work to do. But you know, the point is, right, even a guy as elite of a individual, right, to be an Army Ranger, to then come out to have fun, you know, normal guy making jokes about sucking like the rest of us, even though he was clearly, you know, 4 times better than everybody. Like it's that type of guy that you want to learn from, who's also, you know, humble and has humility in their skills. But again, more than willing to spend some time and give me 20 minutes and some pointers and some tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff of what I need to work on and improve. And it's like that with the old guys on your job site, the titans of business and industry. You know, I've been around a good number of these guys, and they're willing to, so long as you're into like in the group, you're not an asshole, they're more than willing to give you some time and some pointers and, you know, put you in the right direction. It's been my take, and I'll let everybody, you know, answer that. And then we'll move on to I want to hear about building power plants and turbines and restoration and all the other good stuff, guys.
Yeah, that's a good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% on that. Even on like that note, with all of our guys, it's helped us so much. So we've moved that to, that's our culture now for our business. Like we have normally weekly meetings, and it's all around personal development. It's not even, we don't even talk training of there's like no restoration talk. It's all personal development. So that has helped us out tremendously. And even the guys that first start, you can tell they're like, what the heck is this or whatever. So it has helped our culture. Like I can't even tell you. So I know with this business, a lot of companies are probably like, oh, they're not gonna take to that, you know. But I'll tell you that they will. You know, it's when you're telling them about reaching goals, like no one's ever even asked them if they have a goal before. They're just like, show up at this time and leave at this time. That's all you know, that's what they get from their company. And yeah, it's been an amazing thing for us. So I wish everybody could you know, have that affect their lives. So
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I mean, you know, as recessions, who knows, you hear different things. Are we in the winter? Are we, going in, coming out? Who knows? But when it comes to retention, employee retention, when you start changing their personal lives as well as their professional lives, those guys become like family, right? And it doesn't matter if it's the lowest guy in the totem pole or somebody on our staff. When you improve their lives and their mental state and all that, all the things that come with that, as opposed to just like Bob said, you show up here, you do this job, go home, get your check. Those guys are always looking for another opportunity, right? Our guys are looking for, they want to belong to something bigger. And, we typically promote from within 99% of the time.
You're building loyalty, right? I mean, you're doing it dual fold, right? You're helping people, you're helping the company, you're building loyalty, you're building a tribe. And that's a great way to do business.
And it's getting harder and harder to find people, right? So, we've had a lot of success with hire on the personality and the person, not the skill. And then we train them the skill, because it's, I'm sure you guys have heard it from other guests, but, hiring, I don't know where everybody's going, but they're going somewhere, man, because they are hard to find.
There are lots of people sitting in mom's basement still, it seems like, doesn't it?
Something. Yeah, they're keyboard warriors. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but yeah.
Well, to echo Dillon's point though, guys, we've been riffing for a minute here. Let's jump into business, right? Talk to us about the mold world and what it is you guys are doing.
Sounds good. So basically, like Dillon said in our bio, we pretty much just do commercial, I would say medium to larger loft jobs. So that could be, a 15-story flood, from a fire sprinkler popping, or a fire, or just anything. The mold work, obviously, that kind of speaks for itself. Usually over time, something happened, nobody saw it, so it turns into a larger mold job. So, for probably the last, I would say, 5 years, that's mainly what we've been doing, kind of sticking to that type of stuff. We also, when we do the mold or water restoration, we'll also do the belt back for that. So, that's what I used to that's all I did. So for us, it was kind of a seamless transition. It's been good. It's we try to we stay in more of like the healthcare facilities, mostly assisted living facilities, things of that nature, even starting to get into hospitals now. It's been a great 5 years. I think people that are in residential and commercial, they probably, I don't know, I like commercial a little better. So it's just more of a business transaction. So it's nice. But yeah, it's been good.
Well, let's touch on that real quick, because I'll be honest, when I was reading your bio, when I typically have thought about mold or water restoration, in my mind, I instantly go to houses. I've had to do it here, and I never really put it with commercial. And you kind of hit on it in the very beginning there with assisted living and hospital scenarios. Where is it coming from? Is it typically sprinklers popping, or is it something bigger? And granted, you guys are in a climate down there too, where I think it probably aids that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from anywhere from, grandpa leaving the shower drain over the drain and just floods on the floor, and that happens to be on the 10th story, and it, he doesn't realize it. So that runs for, 30, 45 minutes. And then next thing you know, you've got a flood, right? Anything from, we get weather calls, but, we do some storm work. We don't do much storm chasing, but
okay.
It comes from, we had one that was, a lot of these buildings are older and they get pinhole leaks in the pipe. Nobody notices it for a while. And next thing you know, there's, 15 stories flooded. Things like that. The fire sprinklers do happen.
A lot of ACs, ACs leaking is a huge thing. Um, I would say that's we haven't had a lot this year, but last year that was probably one of our main things. Just the slow AC leaks, and the slow leaks are the worst leaks for buildings because nobody really notices them, and then when they do find them, it's usually a mold situation. So it's actually better for a building, even though it looks worse, to have a kind of a bigger leak and somebody notice it right away because we can usually dry it out and not a lot of demo. So I think it's kind of the same as a home as you would think, just wear and tear of the building itself, and sometimes you got wind driven rain and the hurricane stuff as well, but that's pretty much it. So
Now on those, is it like not just an AC leak, but some of the condensation that builds up in it? And then does that get into any of the chases in the buildings you're in to where the whole chase ends up molding out, or what does
It's
that look
funny you
like?
say that. We're doing one of those right
you,
now.
are you in our office right now?
I mean, that's just what I'm thinking, right? Like you've got the chase for it, like you get condensation within that chase because it's not a cooled, heated or cooled space, right? Not that you guys really need a lot of heat in Florida, but like the cooling side of it, where you have an unconditioned space and then that duct, chase condensates, and then because of Florida's weather, right, you end up getting the whole chase ends up molding out. And I mean, that's just how I'm thinking about it. Please,
Yeah.
like, correct me if I'm wrong in how
Well,
this happens.
I would say you're like 99% correct on that one. So it's kind of funny that you say that. But yeah, that's one of our bigger jobs coming up is it was a water loss, but it turned because of finding some other issues that really, it's really nobody's fault. It's just in an older building, those things happen in our climate. Like you said, you have all that hot and cold air mixing, and it's once again nobody's fault. It's just something that was found, and yeah, you have that. So we haven't run into that a lot though, because usually it is like, especially if you get metal ducts. I mean, that can happen, but um, everybody likes to use the drywall now for everything. So drywall is, I think,
Sponge.
mold's best friend.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, with that, we're hopefully starting that in a month. We're waiting for permitting right now, so we'll see.
Well, and my next question is, what does that even look like is it a pipe chase or a duct chase? And do you have to, like, does the building get shut down during that period? Because if you're in an assisted living, like 10-story deal, like, oh man,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal
So
with that.
yeah, so one of the things, and I'm not a big like tooting our own horn type guy because obviously a lot of people, there's probably a lot of people that are better than us at stuff, but we really pride ourselves in being, because especially in assisted living, you're dealing with, like my grandma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So grandma doesn't want to leave her house. She doesn't want to leave her chair. I mean, my grandma, I don't think ever left her chair. So we really try to, if we don't have to, we try to not move them out. Obviously, sometimes we do have to, but like in this case, we'll do, maybe a couple at a time, a couple rooms at a time, and try to get it to where, they're not gone for too long. And then we're also not like destroying the whole building. Like if there is a lot of cases where you do have to move everybody out of the building, and then, but the good part about that is you can get it done a lot faster. So, but most of the time we'll try to have it where we're not moving everybody out and they're mostly happy with us when we do that.
And I mean, it's a case by case basis, right? But really, Dylan, to answer your question, we essentially quarantine off or build containment around the areas that we're working. And then, if we can do it with them there and they still have ingress and egress, then we can rock on. But if not, then we unfortunately have to move them out.
Yeah, so I mean, if you got like a 5x5 in a corner, you know, to get to the chase, then you're good, and they can still watch TV and
Yeah, yeah. They can deal with the noise and they can stay. If not, they gotta go. But
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of these places have guest suites, things like that, that sometimes they can move in. You know, and if we have the luxury of shutting the building down, then we do it all at once. You know, this particular one is 15 stories. It happened at the top of the chase and went all the way down.
of course.
And the interesting thing is, the chases have fireboard, so it's 1 inch fireboard and then 2 sheets of 5/8, and all that stuff is built, and then the building built around it. So, it becomes a bit of a puzzle, but it's kind of fun at the same time. But that really, that's why we choose commercial, because if you get a leak in a house or you get mold in the house, you do you send the same crew to initially look at it. It's kind of all the same steps, but you're doing, maybe a $3,000 to $10,000 job instead of $1 million job. So it's much more advantageous for us to focus on the commercial arena.
Oh, without a doubt. And even in the commercial side, I assume, I mean, with what I do with building, it takes the same brain power, the same pre-construction time, the same management time, the same basic overhead to do a $1 million job as it does to do a $30 million job. And
it does,
to each his own. There's a lot of guys that I know and that Dillon and I have talked to that, that do really well based on lower dollar value, but higher volume. And that's fine, man. Have at it. That's a great way to make a living. But
sure,
I've always looked at it in the opposite, right? I'd rather work on one project a year and make the same money if I could than 50.
Yeah.
We're just that'll be probably a 6-month project.
Okay.
Once everything's approved. So, to your point, we'll be camped out there for 6 months, and then you've got other ones going on at the same time. You got to do a lot of houses in that 6 months to equal that one job, right?
Yeah.
You basically are. I mean, that's what assisted living is, right? And it's just 500 apartments.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah, the multifamily assisted living, anything like that. I mean, it's good too, just for business, because it's it's basically a referral source of its own. So when you have one house, it's you can get some neighbors and stuff, but for us, it's they might not have a leak for 3 years, and honestly, the people, who knows, they might forget us. But when we're dealing with one person that's in charge of, like you said, 500 rooms, it's just great. So,
how's the labor market down there for you guys and for what you need? I mean, a 6-month project, I got to assume that swallows up a lot of your head count.
So we are lucky in the fact that it's kind of like, we've been gone from Michigan for a while, but I do view it a little bit like how you can go to the union house and maybe get like, your mechanical guys when you're doing a mechanical job, and you don't have to have them on your payroll all year. So we're lucky that we work with actually a labor company that has a lot of qualified techs, because they pretty much only do restoration. So not everybody is qualified. I'm not going to, say that they're, they're $15 an hour and they're the best in the world. That's not true. But I will say that they work hard. 95% of them are very good to be around. They listen. So it's been a great process, and something that we instituted into our business, and it's taken a lot of pressure off of us. Because like you say, so we kind of run on more of a project manager model. So all of our employees are project managers, superintendents, or we have just a couple techs, but then we'll use all the labor for, to fill in that role. So they're removing drywall, as we kind of tell them what to remove. They're setting equipment, they're setting containment, cleaning up, taking out the trash, so to speak, all that stuff under our supervision, of course. So It's been a great thing. So
you're really acting as a general contractor in the remediation and restoration space.
yeah, and truthfully, kind of how we talked about the mentorship, all the really big companies, that's how they're working too. You know, they're
Okay.
the Signal, Cotton, a lot of these just huge companies that are, all over the nation doing large jobs. That's what they do as well. So we kind of just copied the model, but made it more of a local type thing, and that's just what we go after. And like you said, we don't need 50 jobs a day or whatever. So we've kind of made it to where it fits. Here's what we do, here's who we are, and we stick in that realm.
How far do you guys travel?
We'll for the right jobs, I mean, we'll go all over Florida.
Okay.
We haven't gone out of the state yet. Obviously, when the hurricanes hit Fort Myers, we did a lot of stuff down there. And we're gonna be down there tomorrow as well. So we'll travel. That's no problem. Most of our jobs, though, we're kind of lucky. They're within, I would say, 2 hours.
Nice.
Yep.
That's kind of how we operate. We put like a 2-hour radius around our office, and anywhere inside that we can kick ass and be real efficient. Once we get outside of that, it's got to be for either a specific client or a specific reason, because we lose that efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're the same. But, that's the benefit of having like these corporate clients where, one client has anywhere from 10 to 20, 50 locations.
Yeah.
So we can, at the corporate level, we can kind of determine here's what we can service quickly. And then these other ones, we may need a minimum size or dollar amount before we'll do that. Or we can, use one of our referral partners and they can do it. So it works out. I think, just going back to, like you said, the ease of commercial and what it takes for brain power, it's a whole lot easier to manage that than it is to, do marketing and all the things it takes to keep the residential monster moving.
And that's when Pat came over, obviously, I mean, he used to build, I don't know if it was $1 billion, but multi-millions of dollars of power plants that he would run those projects. So he brought all that expertise over to us to run those bigger projects in an organized fashion. We're doing okay, but he was able to sharpen us up pretty good. So he's still working on this too.
So he's the one cracking the whip, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah, some of our conversations are pretty interesting at times.
I bet.
It's a good thing we're brothers.
How is it? I was going to ask that anyways. How is it working with your brother?
We've always, our mother passed away very young, so we always were super tight, and we still are to this day. And I mean, we've always been best friends and still are. And of course, we sometimes don't see eye to eye like brothers, but there's nothing we don't ever solve or, get through. And I may say some things he doesn't like, and he says things I don't like. And at the end of it, we come to a resolution. So, I mean, for us, it's great. It doesn't come without bumps in the road, but for us, it's been great.
You're going to hit bumps no matter who you partner up with, right?
Nothing's
ever stress-free and perfect. So that's cool though that it's working out for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I can I can yell at him. It's okay. He's like he doesn't even listen to me. Whereas if it was like an employee, they'd probably get their feelings hurt or something.
Yeah. Hey, what the hell are you doing?
It sounds very familiar. My right-hand man is not related to me by blood, but we act a lot like brothers at times, and you can see it, like we'll go after each other, right? And verbally. And some of the employees' eyes get real big, like, holy shit, did they just say that to each other? And it's like that, what? Nothing. What did he even say? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
I'm bigger than he is too, though. So if he gets out of line, I just take it down.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
You got to
I'm
keep
a
that a
lot
competitive
faster.
advantage.
I'm trying. He keeps catching me though.
I guess, on that note, guys, what are kind of the biggest challenges that you guys have had or see within the industry, and what are you seeing to kind of help resolve that? So biggest challenge, biggest solution, or thing that we could solve as an industry, whether or not you have an actual solution, but at least
So
let's
I
work towards it.
think the biggest challenge for us is overcoming the stigma of restoration companies, right? Because there's so many rip and tear experts, and there's, the restoration industry's been around long enough now where people, that's caught up with the industry, right? There's a lot of people that are worried anytime there's a flood, or they've heard insurance horror stories and things, and we try to treat everybody the same. Everybody gets respect. Our tagline is trusted, transparent partners. And we truly follow that, right? So there's no gimmicks, there's no games. We're not trying to screw anybody. But they've either already been screwed or they're scared they're going to get screwed. And when you give them like we just did one, it was a real small flood, toilet broke, went down to the unit below it. It was a new customer. The unit below it was, of course, water travels down, was wetter than the one above it. He came in, felt it with his hand. We already had equipment running. I mean, the walls were 100% saturated. And he told us, pull the equipment in that one, continue to dry the upper one because that one's not wet. And his concern was we were charging him for equipment that shouldn't have been on the job, right? So he was already, in his mind, we were screwing. So it's just been, until we can gain the relationship with some of these people and get them to understand, hey, we're not like some of the others. We're here to help you, truly help you, and we want to build a long-term relationship and truly be partners in this deal. I mean, that is the first thing on my mind of what is hardest for us to overcome, is just the stigma in the industry, because it's so many people have, they get a flood, somebody comes and tears the walls out before these people even understand what's happening. Their walls are bare. They're like, what the hell just happened? And now I'm stuck with this bill that you're telling me I have to pay because I signed this emergency work off that I wasn't understanding what was in it, blah, 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 right? So it's kind of chaos in the beginning. And then when they finally realize what's happened, they get stuck with a big ass bill. And then that company typically tells them, now you got to find somebody to rebuild it. So they're like, what just happened? And that, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's bad business, but these companies just continue to do it and get away with it. Honestly, it's a lot of the big ones, and they keep going. So, if we can figure out how to do that, and there's things like Restoration Industry Association, RI or RAI, RAA, whatever. They're trying to combat that, and there's a lot of good companies that are coming into the industry. But yeah, I think that's the hardest thing, and that would probably be construction in general, right? But it
Yeah.
seems to run rampant in the restoration field.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, that sounds like what we all fight day in and day out. And I get the angle, the niche where you're coming from too. But that's definitely, it's still a challenge because there's so many shitty asshole companies in every trade, every field, right? That just take advantage of people. And I mean, from where I'm coming from, it's a constant battle, right? Until you build that relationship, you always get looked at as the guy who's going to come in and fuck me over, right? Who's going to overbill me and underperform and disappear or not call me back. And, I mean, that's part of the reason that Dillon and I do this, frankly, is just to help get the word out, like show guys like yourself who are kicking ass, doing really well in business, but also maintaining that human side and showing that, look, we can deliver an experience for you people that is great. We're not cut from the same cloth as the asshats who, touch and run and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough too. Even I think in every industry, it's just like you know, for us, a lot of smaller companies are being bought out. You know, like even I mean, even Belfour, you know, where you're from is
Yeah.
you know one of the largest, if not the largest, restoration company. They got bought, and you know that's happening like it's happening like gangbusters these last 2 years. So all these big companies are kind of really taking over the whole industry. And so for independents like us, it makes it more and more difficult every year, honestly. And I don't there's no faults or I'm not ripping on any of those guys. I think, you know, a lot of the people that work for those companies are great people. It's just it's weird to me in our society. Like there could be a Chili's and then a mom and pop that is great, but people will go to Chili's. You know, like I don't get that personally, but it kind of keeps on that line. I think that's a big challenge for us and other companies like us that um, we're the owners. A lot of times we're on the jobs. You know, even if it's just for assessments or just talking with people. So you're getting the owners of the company that have been around for a long time, that have been in this business where, and once again, I'm more talking about us, but a lot of times it's those big companies, it's the same thing. And they do that. The people at the top, they're great people, but a lot of that stuff kind of gets watered down, you know. Um, so for me, that's probably one of our biggest challenges as a company is we have to. Um, I don't know if I want to say compete with them because we kind of take the stance that we're not competing with anybody except for us. But for us, we've had to like ramp up sales, you know, actually have dedicated sales people on the ground, you know, knocking on the doors every day. So that's probably the biggest challenge for me. And then moving forward, going into a recession is just ramping up to that to where we're I think as people's dollars get tighter and you know trust becomes more of a big thing where I think we can go in and win a lot of that work. Um, but it's definitely a huge challenge for us. So
Well, and you guys will stand a test of time because of what you just said, right? What we're seeing here in our neck of the woods is there's a lot of even trusted subcontractor, you know, specialty contractor partners that we've worked with for 20 plus years. We've had a few of them that recently have been bought by big venture capital firms.
it,
And the ownership agrees to stay on typically for 2 to 5 years to help smooth the ship, but then they're out. And what we're seeing is those companies that used to be great that we could really rely on, now they've got this faceless giant that owns them, and the culture dilutes immediately. And everything just goes downhill. And so, you know, to what you guys are doing, if you keep doing it the way you're doing, you keep providing that experience, keep the relationship, and keep building that trust, you know, eventually the giants fall over and they fall real fucking hard. And then the little guys like all of us are left standing. And that's how we keep moving the industry forward as a whole. And that's how we change the perception, right? Is let the big guys fall and sweep them out of the way, man.
Yeah, and no, yeah, that's you're spot on, and that's kind of our mission is to, you know, like Bob said, it's us against us, but it's also, you know, it goes back to that fight where I want a piece of that, right? I know you guys have the marketing dollars and you're doing all that, buying companies and doing all that, but I want to be the big company that still has the family atmosphere, that's still like First Form, right?
Yeah.
Those guys have built something great. They haven't lost the personal touch. They're not the big corporate giant. And we can do that in this industry. There's no doubt in my mind that we can do it, but you know, it's going to take some of those guys to fall on their face. And when the venture capitalists don't get their return, they're going to start pulling out.
It'll
and like
happen.
You said, we'll still be here to catch it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then we're going to kick their ass.
Oh boy, we're gonna be on Facebook for this.
All right, bring it on.
I've said worse shit. So the I mean, this is the thing, man, like tech companies, VCs on the whole, like they really don't understand construction. And then in your world, the insurance folks are also a nightmare to deal with on that side of it. And I think, you know, there's two big overarching pieces that I want to touch on before we wrap up here. And that's one, you know, personal touch will never go away, right? The education of the client as to what you're doing, why you're doing it, why this matters, you know, what it is, you know, and then, and really in that too is being respectful. You are going into people's homes.
Yeah.
And so, and then anybody in the residential world and the type of work that you're doing, right? And even in the commercial world to where it's in an operating building, like that's their work home, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where
Yeah.
people go, and is to be respectful of that, especially, you know, going into hospitals, you know, assisted living facilities, like it's their home. So to be, you know, respectful of that, understanding, you know, operating procedures and how to go about things is a huge deal. And, you know, those sensitive touches, if you will, to clients like that is so important. And I think that what you're doing is exactly the right thing. And it's conveying that in a way to these owners, to the managers, to the management companies, whoever's running them, that this is how you're going to, you know, approach it. Right. Because the last thing that you want is, you know, somebody leaving or having to get moved, because that management company does not want those people to leave or get out of there, because they might not come back.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal to those guys. And then two, and this is really for all of our listeners, is look, guys, you got to shop with local companies doing local work, employing local people. And that's how we fight this, right? Invest your money with companies that have the values that you stand for, and don't spend your money with companies that don't. Like it's pretty cut and dry and simple when it comes to that. And the thing is, you know, stand for your values, stand for what you believe in, and people will back you in a lot of ways around that. Don't be afraid to speak up. And, you know, whether that's on social media or just in private with people and meetings and letting your feelings be known, it's important, and people will back you. And more than likely, they're going to share the same values or pretty close to it that you have. And so any closing thoughts, guys, before I wrap it up?
I mean, you know, just to kind of go off of that, I totally agree. The values, and we're always, I mean, I probably do it too much. I really try to be nice, but I just tell people how it is. And that's always served me well. And the people that didn't like it were people that I didn't want to work with. It turned out in the end. I didn't know that at the time, but it's always served me well. And you know, we'll, for everyone else out there, I think especially in these times, stick to that. Stick to your guns. You know, if you have good morals and good ethics, I don't care about, you know, what your politics are or anything like that. But if you truly are a good person, stick to that. You know, don't let people sway you you know, um, who you think you should be or who they want you to be or anything like that. That's the problem with America right now. I get a little. I could go off on a tangent. I could go.
We're gonna have a whole nother podcast about
that. Yeah, I just I love that you said that, because that's probably the number one thing for me. And you know, it is, as a small business owner, it's so important to me that you know, not only we stick to that, but other people like us, because we really do. We got a lot to make up as just as a country, and you know, we can do it. We can get back to where we were, but I don't know. People just got to stick to their guns more. Be themselves, because there's a ton of great people out there. So,
Amen to that, brother. That's a great way to end this episode. I couldn't have said it any better.
Well, thank you guys. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for coming on. It was a fun conversation.
yes. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Next time we'll talk about America.
There you go.
I think we need to have a separate show segment for that, as for all the guests that we bring on. Bob, Pat, thank you guys so much for coming on. You know, keep doing the work that you're doing. Keep spreading the good message and word out to all the local guys that you deal with, you know, and hiring those folks, empowering your people, you know, teaching them personal development, self-improvement, you know, self-help, whatever you want to call it or label it. It's what people need to do, man. Books have changed my life and the trajectory of it, and I can't recommend it enough. I know Matt echoes that sentiment. And so, you know, keep giving that guidance to guys that you bring on, you know, whether it's that $15 an hour guy or that, you know, 6-figure manager that you're bringing on to help you and your team. I think it's important to embed that into your culture, and you guys need to just stay the path. With that, guys, all their links will be in the show notes. So if you're in the Florida region and you have any water problems, you know who to call now. So with that, guys, thanks for coming on. And that's going to be this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.